From outrageous slapstick moments to unforgettable one-liners, this classic comedy franchise had us all laughing out loud. But ever wondered what happened to the stars who brought those iconic characters to life? In The Naked Gun cast then and now 2025, we take you on a nostalgic journey to see how the cast has changed over the years. Some have transformed in surprising ways, while others remain timeless legends. Whether you're a diehard fan or just discovering the series, this is your chance to catch up with the faces behind the laughs. Trust us, you won't believe how they look now. Leslie Nielsen, who portrayed the hilariously clumsy yet lovable Lieutenant Frank Drebin, was 62 years old when The Naked Gun debuted in 1988. Known for his impeccable deadpan comedic timing, Nielsen had transitioned from serious dramatic roles into a comedy icon, yet behind his public success lay a life filled with personal pain. He was married 4 times. His third marriage to Brooks Oliver seemed promising but ended in quiet divorce after years of emotional distance. He had 2 daughters, Maura and Thea, with whom he had a strained relationship due to his constant traveling and long absences from home. Despite his booming comedic career in the late 80s and 90s, Nielsen struggled with being typecast and saw his offers for serious roles diminish, which he found deeply disheartening. He also battled chronic health issues including hearing loss, which isolated him further. He spent his later years dealing with loneliness and regret over his broken family ties. Nielsen passed away on November 28, 2010, at the age of 84 due to pneumonia complications. Though widely beloved by fans, he often felt underappreciated as a serious actor. His estate, valued at approximately $8 million, was largely distributed among charities and former colleagues. He died quietly in his sleep, remembered by many, but surrounded by few. Priscilla Presley, who played Jane Spencer, the intelligent and endearing assistant-turned-love interest in The Naked Gun, was 43 when the film premiered. Her performance brought a charming blend of grace and comedic timing that surprised audiences used to seeing her only in dramatic roles. Despite her fame and beauty, Presley's personal life was fraught with emotional struggles. Her iconic marriage to Elvis Presley had ended years earlier, but the shadow of his legacy loomed over every relationship she tried to build. She never remarried, though she had several long-term relationships, none of which led to lasting happiness. She has 2 children, Lisa Marie Presley, from her marriage to Elvis, and a son, Navarone Garibaldi, from a later relationship. Tragically, she suffered through the loss of Lisa Marie in 2023, a heartbreak that left her visibly devastated. Priscilla's post-film career was scattered, with various business ventures and sporadic roles failing to capture the attention she once commanded. Her wealth, once substantial, was gradually diminished by legal battles, family struggles, and failed enterprises. Now 79 years old, she lives a reclusive life in California, with an estimated net worth of $25 million, once a fraction of what she controlled at the peak of her fame. Friends say she remains haunted by her past, yet quietly strong. George Kennedy, who brought sincerity and stability to the role of Captain Ed Hawken, was 63 when the first Naked Gun film was released. A stalwart presence on screen, Kennedy often played the competent, steady hand amidst chaos. Off-screen, however, his life was marred by deep personal sorrow. Married 4 times, he divorced his first wife Dorothy Gillooly after a brief union and later married Norma Werman twice, both marriages ending painfully. He finally found companionship with Joan McCarthy, with whom he adopted several children, including a disabled daughter whom he loved dearly. Yet, the financial burden of medical care and declining roles in his later years took a toll. After his success in the early 90s waned, Kennedy found himself typecast and largely forgotten by Hollywood. He battled chronic back pain and depression in his final decade. His last years were marked by quiet financial strain, as medical bills and dwindling royalty checks chipped away at his once sizable earnings. Kennedy passed away on February 28, 2016, at the age of 91 due to heart disease. His estate was estimated at around $500,000 at the time of his death. Though he received little attention in his final years, those close to him remembered him as kind, introspective, and quietly heartbroken by how little Hollywood seemed to value his contributions by the end. Robert Goulet, who portrayed the suave but sinister Quentin Habsburg in The Naked Gun 2.5, The Smell of Fear, was 58 at the time of filming. His character, a polished villain with a twisted charm, reflected Goulet's knack for embodying sophistication with an edge. Yet, Goulet's real life was filled with inner turmoil. Married 3 times, his final marriage to Vera Novak endured until his death but was reportedly filled with private conflict and long separations. He had 3 children, Nicolette, Michael, and Christopher, from his earlier relationships, all of whom had distant or strained connections with him due to his demanding performance schedule and bouts of alcoholism. Goulet's booming career in musical theater and television declined sharply in the 1990s, leaving him frustrated and desperate for relevance. In his final years, he performed in smaller venues, often feeling forgotten by the industry that once praised his golden voice. He battled health issues, including pulmonary fibrosis, which ultimately took his life on October 30, 2007, at age 73. He died awaiting a lung transplant, a procedure he never received in time. His estate was estimated at around $1.5 million. While audiences remembered him fondly, Goulet passed with a sense of unfulfilled ambition and personal estrangement from those he once held dear. Richard Griffiths, who portrayed both the kindly Dr. Mannheimer and his malevolent doppelganger Earl Hacker in The Naked Gun, was 44 when the film came out. Known for his imposing figure and nuanced performances, Griffiths brought depth and humor to the film's most absurd elements. Off-screen, he struggled with body image issues, which affected his health and mental well-being throughout his life. He never married and had no children, confessing in interviews that his deep insecurities made relationships difficult. He remained close to his extended family but often felt isolated. Despite later critical success in stage and screen roles, most notably in Harry Potter, as Uncle Vernon, Griffiths felt typecast and frustrated with the roles he was offered. He suffered from chronic obesity-related conditions, including sleep apnea and heart problems, which limited his career in later years. He passed away on March 28, 2013, at age 65, following complications from heart surgery. His estate was modest, reportedly valued at approximately $800,000, much of which went to care facilities and medical bills. Though beloved in the theater world, Griffiths died quietly, feeling unrecognized for the emotional range he brought to so many of his roles. His legacy remains underappreciated outside of his most iconic performances. Tim O'Connor, who portrayed Fenswick in The Naked Gun: The Smell of Fear, was 64 years old when he took on the role of the stoic and sharp-eyed advisor entangled in political espionage. Known for his strong presence and authoritative delivery, Fenswick added depth to the film's satirical edge. Off-screen, O'Connor's life was marked by a string of personal tragedies. He was married to actress Mary Foskett, with whom he had one son, Daniel, but the couple divorced after 12 years amid reports of emotional distance and disagreements over his career ambitions. Their son struggled with substance abuse, causing O'Connor immense personal grief. Though he had a successful television career in the 1970s, the roles dwindled after the early 1990s, leading to financial insecurity and eventual foreclosure on his California home in the mid-2000s. He suffered from depression and was briefly hospitalized in 2012 after a fall exacerbated by poor living conditions. Alienated from most of his extended family and having lost contact with old friends, he passed away on April 5, 2018, at the age of 90 due to heart failure. At the time of his death, his estate was modest, estimated at $180,000, primarily composed of residual checks and a pension. Peter Mark Richman, who played the calculating and elusive Dunwell in The Naked Gun, was also 64 in 1991. His character, cloaked in mystery and corporate ambition, mirrored elements of Richmond's own disciplined persona. Though once hailed as a rising star in the 1960s, Richmond's career hit a slow decline, and by the early 2000s, he was largely forgotten in Hollywood. He married Helen Richmond in the early 1950s, and they remained married until his death, but the marriage was far from ideal. Their 5 children, Lucas, Randy, Howard, Kelly, and Jonathan, often described a household steeped in emotional distance and rigid expectations. Richmond struggled with feelings of creative unfulfillment and was known to obsess over roles he had lost. His later years were marked by increasing isolation and failing health. Despite all this, he never stopped writing poetry, some of which was posthumously published. He died on January 14, 2021, at the age of 93 from natural causes. At the time of his death, his estate was valued at approximately $600,000, largely due to property investments rather than his acting work. Peter Van Norden, who portrayed John Sununu, the bombastic and often frantic chief of staff in The Naked Gun, was 41 years old at the time. His comedic timing and authoritative demeanor made the role memorable despite its brevity. However, Van Norden's career trajectory failed to maintain that momentum. After the early 90s, his roles diminished to sporadic appearances in low-budget films and regional theater. He was married twice, first to stage actress Judith Malone, with whom he had a daughter named Erica, but their marriage dissolved due to his growing alcohol dependency. His second marriage to writer Linda Halpern ended in 2007 amid financial strain and emotional distance. Estranged from both ex-wives and his daughter, Van Norden battled depression and spent several years living in small rental homes in upstate New York, taking odd jobs between acting gigs. Now 75 years old, he lives in a modest retirement apartment and survives on union pensions and Social Security, with his remaining assets valued at approximately $90,000. Despite the hardships, he occasionally teaches acting workshops, where he shares his bittersweet journey through Hollywood. Colleen Fitzpatrick, known professionally as Vitamin C, played the sultry and soulful blues singer in The Naked Gun at just 19 years old. Her performance, though brief, hinted at her musical talents that would later flourish in her solo pop career. However, fame came with a steep price. After a few hits in the early 2000s, her music career fizzled out, leading to a failed comeback attempt and mounting debt. She married music producer Marcus Holmes in 1999, but the relationship was marred by infidelity and emotional abuse. They divorced in 2006, with no children. Fitzpatrick later revealed she had suffered 2 miscarriages during the marriage, deepening her personal sorrow. She attempted to revive her career by turning to acting and producing, but poor investments and legal disputes over royalties left her nearly bankrupt. Now 52, she lives alone in a rented condo in Los Angeles, reportedly battling anxiety and reclusive tendencies. Her current net worth is estimated to be under $50,000. Once a household name for a generation, she now lives quietly, reflecting on fame's fleeting nature and the emotional toll of a career that vanished too soon. Jose Gonzalez, who played the cheerful and endearing mariachi in The Naked Gun 2, was 68 years old when he brought warmth and music to the screen. His role, though minor, stood out for its authenticity and charm. Behind his jovial on-screen persona, Gonzalez endured a lifetime of marginalization in Hollywood, often relegated to stereotypical roles. He married Lucia Ortega in 1950, and the couple had 3 children, Ernesto, Carmen, and Luis. Despite the appearance of a tight-knit family, the pressures of typecasting, low pay, and ethnic prejudice strained his marriage and finances. In the 1980s, he suffered a severe stroke that left him partially paralyzed, making acting nearly impossible. His wife left him in 1987, taking their youngest son with her. He spent his final years in a modest assisted living facility in Los Angeles, often visited only by his daughter. He passed away on December 15, 2000, at the age of 78 due to complications from diabetes and heart disease. At the time of his death, his estate was worth approximately $40,000, mainly from Social Security and sparse royalties, marking a sad end for a man who gave so much joy through his performances. Larry McCormick, who portrayed the slick and composed TV reporter in The Naked Gun, was 57 years old during the film's 1988 release. Known for his authoritative voice and polished on-screen demeanor, McCormick brought credibility and charm to even the briefest of roles. Despite his long-standing career as a television newscaster in Los Angeles, his foray into Hollywood never quite took off beyond minor roles. Behind his professional poise, McCormick led a life filled with personal challenges. He married twice, first to high school sweetheart Dolores Warren, with whom he had a daughter, Camille, and later to producer Renee Carver, with whom he had a son, Marcus. Both marriages ended in quiet divorces, as his career consumed much of his personal time. Estranged from his children later in life, McCormick struggled with loneliness and was hospitalized multiple times for health complications related to hypertension and diabetes. His final years were marked by declining health and a sense of missed opportunities in film. McCormick passed away on August 27, 2004, at the age of 71 due to cancer. His estate, once modestly estimated at $800,000, had dwindled due to medical bills and poor financial planning. He spent his last years in a small apartment in Los Angeles, largely forgotten by the industry he helped shape. Anthony James, who portrayed the sinister hitman Hector Savage in The Naked Gun 2.5, was 46 at the time of filming in 1991. With his tall, gaunt appearance and piercing stare, James specialized in playing villains, and this role was no exception. His brief scenes were chillingly memorable. Yet, behind the fearsome roles was a sensitive soul who longed to break out of typecasting. James never married and had no known children, often citing his inability to trust people due to a turbulent upbringing marked by an abusive father and a distant mother. He lived much of his life alone, battling depression and anxiety, which worsened as Hollywood offers declined in the late 90s. Despite writing an acclaimed autobiography later in life, he never achieved the mainstream respect he desired. He moved to Massachusetts in his final years, seeking peace and solitude. James died on May 26, 2020, at the age of 77 from cancer. His net worth was estimated to be under $500,000 at the time of his death. He left no heirs and was cremated quietly, with no public memorial, a stark contrast to his once intense screen presence. Mel Torme, who portrayed himself in The Naked Gun, was 63 in 1988. Known as the Velvet Fog for his smooth, jazz-inflected voice, Torme's cameo in the film was a nod to his lasting cultural relevance, though his career was already in decline by then. Off-screen, Torme endured several tumultuous relationships. He was married 4 times, most notably to British actress Jeanette Scott, with whom he had 2 children, Daisy and James. His last marriage to model Ollie Severson lasted until his death, though it was marred by constant financial stress and allegations of infidelity. Torme's relationship with his children was fraught, especially after a failed business venture led him to declare bankruptcy in the early 90s. Plagued by strokes in the last years of his life, Torme became reclusive, refusing most public appearances. He died on June 5, 1999, at the age of 73 due to complications from a stroke. His estate, once worth millions, had shrunk to an estimated $300,000 due to medical costs and poor financial decisions. Though revered for his contributions to music, Torme's final years were tragically quiet and marked by personal sorrow. Zsa Zsa Gabor, who played herself with regal flair in The Naked Gun, was 71 during the film's 1988 release. Known more for her dazzling beauty and flamboyant social presence than her acting, Gabor's role was a satirical reflection of her real-life celebrity status. Throughout her life, she married 9 times, most famously to hotel magnate Conrad Hilton, with whom she had her only child, Francesca. However, her relationships were often short-lived and scandalous, riddled with public fights, lawsuits, and accusations of gold digging. Estranged from her daughter in later years, Zsa's personal life was marked by isolation. A 2002 car accident left her partially paralyzed, and a stroke in 2005 further diminished her quality of life. She spent her final years bedridden, under the care of her last husband, Frederick Prinz von Anhalt, in a guarded Bel Air mansion. Gabor passed away on December 18, 2016, at the age of 99 from cardiac arrest. Despite her fame and wealth, legal battles and medical expenses reduced her fortune significantly. Her estate was estimated at $1.5 million at the time of her death. Once the toast of Hollywood, she died in obscurity, a glamorous icon undone by time and tragedy. Which character from The Naked Gunner is your favorite? How do you feel knowing that some of the cast members have passed away? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoy this kind of content, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Thanks for your support.